I'm going to be breaking down PFL number 2. Jump right back into this regular season. I want to give my prediction for the main event right here. We got Lance Palmer taking on Alex Gilpin at 145 at featherweight. I really like Lance Palmer to win this fight. He's the more well-known fighter here. He's trained in Team Alpha Male, guys like Faber, Chad Money Mendez, and also guys like Josh Emmett. So he's really getting good looks out there at the training camp. He's on a big 6-fight win streak. He beat a guy who took his title in the past when he beat Andre Harrison. He also holds a win over Steven Seiler. So Lance Palmer, he's been, riding a big momentum wave here. He's taking on a guy named Alex Gilpin. He's a guy who competed in the Dana White Contender Series where he actually got a submission victory. So he's no slouch here, and he's definitely a guy you can't count out. Also on his record, he's fighting the ACB, so that's a solid promotion. So that's just good experience he's gaining and fighting in these different promotions. Like I said, he has ways to win this fight. Most of his wins come from submissions. He has 6 submission victories, and he has 1 loss. As you see, he's the taller fighter with a small reach advantage over Lance Palmer. Um, but I just think Lance Palmer is the more known guy here. Um, like I said, he's trained with Team Alpha Male. He's out in Sacramento, California. Big 6-fight win streak. He has a little bit more experience here, and I think that could play a key factor here for Lance Palmer to get the W here. So, like I say, you can't count out these guys who are making a debut in the PFL, but I like my boy Lance Palmer getting it done. So, yeah, we're going to go Lance. As we move on to the card here, we got the co-main event at 155. We got Chris Wade taking on Nate Andrews. Very tough fight to break down. We know that Nate Andrews, he is a champion in a different promotion. He's a current champion in the CES. So, he only has 1 loss on his record. He's 14-1. And that just shows, he's a solid competitor going in here. He's making his debut in the PFL. Most of his wins come from submission, and he has 5 TKO wins. So he mixed it up pretty well. He's more of a jiu-jitsu fighter, as you can tell by his record. And, he's a striker jiu-jitsu fighter. But Chris Wade, he's pretty much, the opposite. He's more of a wrestler. He's competed in the UFC before. He holds wins in the UFC also over guys like Mehdi Baghdad. He also fought Rostam Khabilov where he came up short. And also lost to Islam Makhachev, but he beat Frankie Perez. So that shows that Chris Wade, he's faced high-level competition. He's going to be the younger guy. Nate Andrews will have the reach advantage and the height advantage going into this fight. But I think that Chris Wade wrestling could play a big role here. And his experience fighting in a high-level competition, and he's no stranger to fighting into the UFC, you know what I mean? So I think Chris Wade, if he's able to use his wrestling and defend the submissions, he should be able to get a decision win. But, Nate Andrews, he's 15-1 for a reason, and he has 9 submission wins. So who knows how that might play out. But I want to go with the more known fighter, the guy I actually seen compete. And I want to go with Chris Wade getting it done here. As we move on to another fight here on the card, we're jumping into 145. We got the former PFL champ, Andre Harrison, taking on Peter Pettis here. Right off the bat, I like the former champ. Was really high on Andre Harrison. He only has one loss, and that was to a guy he beat before, and that was Lance Palmer. But before that, he was on a big tear. I mean, the guy was on a huge win streak. Um, he's been at the top of the division for so long in the PFL, and some people could argue and say that he actually won that fight against Lance Palmer. It was a very close fight. Um, he's a solid wrestler. He has solid stand up. Um, he mixes it up pretty well. Most of his fights are won by decision. He has 15 decision wins, so he rarely gets the TKO and the submission. He's really a point fighter, and he really has a high IQ for the game of MMA. And I think that's why he's going to be victorious in this fight against Peter Pettis. Peter Pettis here, he has a lot less experience. He only has a total of 10 fights, but most of his wins are from, TKO or decision. It's 3-3. He's coming off of a loss to Alex Morgan, where they fought in TKO, a Canadian promotion. Very tough promotion to compete in. So he's getting solid, competitors, and he's getting solid competition there. He also competed in Dana White Contender Series, where he got TKO by Julio Arce. So yeah, he's fought decent level competition, but I just think that Andre Harrison, his experience and fighting at higher level guys are gonna play a big role in him to win this fight. So we go Andre Harrison at 145. So we move on to the main card here. Also, we got a lightweight Ramsey Ninja taking on Ronnie Torres. Very tough fight here to call. We know that Ramsey's 10-7. He doesn't have the best record, but he is coming off of a win. He's gonna have a big reach advantage and the height advantage going into this fight. But as you see, Ronnie Torres has more experience, and he has the better record. He's 38-6. Um, we know that most of his wins are from submissions. He has 18 submissions, 13 TKOs, and 7 decision wins. He's also competed in the UFC before, but he came up short every time that he fought in the UFC. He went 0-2. He lost to guys like Melvin Gillard, and also holds a loss to Jacob Volcom. He lost to Adriano Martins, but that was in a different promotion. That was in the Amazon Show Combat. So he's fought, pretty decent fighters. He has high level competition. I mean, on his resume. So I want to go with Ronnie Torres getting it done here. I just think Ramsey Ninja, even though he has the height advantage, I just think that his record is 10-7 for a reason. He really never developed that much, even though he's coming off a big win in the PFL. I just think that Ramsey, even though he's competed on the Ultimate Fighter on the season where he had a comeback, beat Benil Darush, he beat high level guys, he fought James Krause, came up short, he beat Julian Lane, Justin Edwards, but I just think the safer pick will go with Ronnie Torres here, getting it done, maybe by submission. We've seen Ramsey tap out before 2 times off of his 7 losses. I think that Ronnie would be better on the ground and he should be able to have more control. So we're gonna go Ronnie Torres getting it done. So we move on to the card here. We got Ahmed Ali taking on Carlos Silva. I want to go with Ahmed getting it done here. Ahmed is a very, very, very well rounded prospect here. He TKO Diego Brandao and Fight Night Global out in a Russian promotion where Fedor competed in before. So that's a solid place. You work your way up in the rankings. And a lot of Russian fighters start off over here before they transition into Bellator or possibly the UFC. And he's on a big, big win streak here. He has a record of 17-4. Um, good old Russian versus Brazil fight here. We know that Carlos Silva, he competed in Shudo, Brazil, so that's a solid promotion in Brazil. And a lot of fighters start off from Brazil and work their way up into the UFC from Shudo, Brazil. So, he's 11-1. He's also on a big win streak. Um, he's going to be the taller fighter, possibly going to have the reach advantage here. Um, most of his wins are from TKO, so I'm pretty sure this is like a grappling striking match here. But I think Ahmed should be able to get the TKO or possibly win the decision because that's how he usually wins 10 fights by TKO and 7 by decision. Um, so, yeah, we got to go with Ali winning this fight. So we move on to the card. We got Alexandre Almeida taking on Luis Rafael here. One thing that stands out to me is this guy, Luis Rafael's record, man. As you see, he has a record of 33-1, but he's only 26 years old. That's a lot of experience to be that young. I mean, that's one hell of a record. I mean, he hasn't been fighting in any promotions that's well known, but he still has a lot of fights. He's young, and most of his wins are from submission. He has 19 submission victories and 9 TKOs. But his opponent, Alexandre Almeida, he's not that bad of a fighter. He has a record of 20-9. He holds wins over guys like Lance Palmer. Lance Palmer also beat him before in a rematch. He's fought decent competition in the PFL, so he's been around the PFL for a while now. He lost to Steven Seiler twice. One was due to disqualification with a legal kick, but he got submitted by him in the first fight. Um, I gotta choose Luis here, man. I just think I gotta ride this record, man. It's 33-1, man. I know I haven't seen him fight yet, but so is Tapology, and I gotta agree with the people here. I'm really, gonna be excited to see this guy fight. I mean, with a record like that, he must be something worth watching. So we're gonna go Raphael here, but not too confident. Almeida's been around the game for a while, so yeah, that's my pick for that fight. We're gonna move on to a lightweight showdown. We got Islam here taking on Yiles here. Right off the bat, I think Islam will be able to win this fight. I just think, you know, the competition that he's faced in his promotion, you know, is going to be the reason why he wins this fight. He's fought Thiago Tavares, a guy who competed in the UFC before. He grinded him out by a decision. He also holds a win over Nathan Schultz. So, we know how dangerous Nathan Schultz is. He's a pretty decent fighter with big wins on his record also. And he's on a big win streak. But his opponent, Giles here, you know, he's from France and he's known for his submission game. He has non-submission wins and 5 decision wins. So we know that he's on a big win streak as well. He's going to be the younger fighter by 2 years. But I think Islam fighting in the higher level competition, fighting guys who competed in the UFC like Thiago Tavares, I think that's going to be a key factor for him to win this fight. So we got to go with Islam winning this fight. As we move on to the fight card, we have Rashid Magomedov taking on Lowek here. I like Rashid Magomedov getting it done, man. We know we've seen this guy compete in the UFC. He had a tie with Will Brooks, big win on Thiago Tavares. Beat Bobby Green before, beat Gilbert Burns. Also holds a win on Anthony Rocco Martin. So he's a top lightweight for sure. He just made the move to the PFL. I guess he wants to chase that $1 million check, and I can't blame him. Some of these UFC fighters spend their whole career and never reach $1 million, but his opponent, Loic here, he's 11-0. Most of his wins are by TKO and second or by submission, one decision win. I mean, he mixed it up pretty well. He'll knock you out or most likely get the submission. That's kind of his game plan there. But I think Rashid just being in the UFC, fighting the top level guys, being at the big stage, he's more comfortable here. We go Rashid getting it done. So, yeah, we're going to move on to this fight card. Got Nathan Schultz taking on Yinseng Bao. I like Nathan Schultz, man. Nathan Schultz, it's hard not to go with him. Where do I start here? Nathan Schultz, pretty decent fighter, holds big wins over guys like Rashid Magomedov, who I just was just talking about. Big wins on Chris Wade, big wins on Jason High, another guy who competed in the UFC. Um, So yeah, man, this guy is no joke. He's fought solid competitors in the game. Yansing Bao on the other side. He's going to be the taller fighter. He's a little bit younger. We've seen him compete in Road FC. Um, Most of his wins are by decision. 7 decision wins, 4 TKOs, 1 submission victory. He's on a win right now, so his momentum is probably up there, kind of high, but I think Nathan Schultz is going to be able to shut that down. I think that he's going to be able to win this fight. He's just been there. He's fought the high level guys. Insane. He's making his debut in the PFL. So I got to go with Nathan Schultz getting it done. As we move on to another fight on the card, we got Alexandre taking on Jeremy Kennedy. Tough fight to break down, but I'm leaning more towards Jeremy Kennedy here. The Canadian, he's fought in the UFC before. I've seen him compete. He's 13-1 for a reason, and yeah, man, it's hard not to go with Jeremy Kennedy, a guy who's 13-1. Like I said, he's competed before in the UFC, also competed in Brave FC. He competed on the card where Chris Weidman, Kelvin Gastelum was on the main event at UFC on Fox 25. He beat Kyle Bochniak. So, yeah, that's a solid guy to have on your resume. He also competed at UFC Fight Night 106, where he picked up another W. And against Ronnie Bazzara. So, I mean, it's hard not to go Jeremy Kennedy, but his opponent is coming off of a loss here. Alexandre, We seen him before compete against Sam Toomer in LFA. So he's competed in solid promotions. He's fought in PFL also before. He holds a win in the PFL. He lost to Andre Harrison. So he's got some solid competition. Um, he fought Andre Harrison actually twice and came up short. And he's fought in the LFA. But I just think that Jeremy Kennedy fighting in the UFC, fighting under the big lights, getting wins in the UFC promotion should play a key factor in his W. So we go Jeremy Kennedy. We're gonna move on to another fight. We have Damon Jackson here at featherweight taking on Movlid here from Russia. Solid fight. Damon Jackson. We've seen this guy compete before in the UFC. Um, Also compete in the LFA. He's riding a nice solid win streak. Um, and I think Damon Jackson should be able to get it done just for the fact that he has more experience by a small amount. But, just those small amounts could play a big factor on a fight. He lost to Kevin Aguilar before. That's a man who's competing in the UFC. Um, Competed at UFC Fight Night 67, Carlos Condit versus Thiago Alves. He also competed on UFC on Fox 18, Anthony Johnson versus Ryan Bader, where you know, the fight was a tie, so it came to a draw. Um, and one fight ended in a no contest. He lost to Yancy Medeiros. He beat Leonard Garcia. So, he's fought solid competitors, guys who've been around the game, veterans. Um, but his opponent on the other side, Movlid here, um, he's 12-0. He's undefeated, 7 decision wins. So most of his wins are from decisions. And he has 4 TKO and 1 submission victory. He's competing in Fight Night Global. Like I said, that's a nice, solid promotion in Russia. He also competed in one championship. And so he has some solid, competition. Not probably as high as the UFC level, but they're still, a good place to build up experience. And those guys are some of the best fighters in the world. Also, that's where a lot of Russian fighters start off before they make the transition. But I think Damon Jackson should be able to win this fight. I just think he's had the higher level guys. He's fought in the UFC, and that's why I got to go with Damon Jackson. So as we move on to this card, we got the last fight here. Actually, the first fight on the card, but the last one I'm gonna break down. It's my way. So we got Steven Seidler taking on Ghazi here. Rabadanov. Ghazi, he's 10-3. Most of his wins are by TKO or submission. 4 TKOs, 4 submission victories, 2 decision wins. He's competing in Fight Night Global. So it's a lot of Fight Night Global guys here that's making that transition into the PFL. And Fight Night Global, they have tough fighters there, man. They're just as good as any other promotion like Bellator or the UFC. Um, but I think a huge experience difference is going to play a role in Steven Seidler's favor here. Even though the Russian fighter is undefeated, I mean he's not undefeated. He's 11-3, but these websites sometimes have these records mixed up. It says he's 11-3 on one, and then it says he's 10-2 on the other one. But yeah, I like Steven Seidler. Back to what I was saying, He's fought Lance Palmer, fought Alexandre Almeida, um, and he's been around the game for a while. He's fought Andre Harrison. He has a lot of experience. I mean, for a guy to be 32 to have that many fights, it's pretty crazy. He's gonna be the taller fighter, but we can't really tell the reach. So I just got to go with the fighter that I know more. The guy I actually seen compete. I got to go with Steven Siler getting it done. So yeah, man, those are pretty much my picks for PFL in the regular season number 2. Like and subscribe. Tell me who you think is gonna win on this card. Yeah, so there goes my picks, man. Yes, sir. Signing on out.